Hello, Noble people. My name is the Noble, and today we are going to be doing the Noble Way of Loki. Loki is actually my main right now. I'm having a lot of fun with him. He is a very interesting strategist character who relies more on his ability usage than just pure healing output, like how a Mantis and a Luna have more healing output. Loki relies more on his abilities to provide support for his team. Now, with always, let's get into the actual story and lore behind Loki before we get into the abilities. Loki started off with kind of a traditional, really basic villain with just being kind of a rival and enemy against Thor, eventually going into being a kind of an enemy against the Avengers. But more as the comics have gone, instead of being just a stereotypical evil character, his ambitions have kind of grown into being more of an anti-hero or just hero in general, or more of a force of nature. Obviously, if you've seen the MCU, you know that he was against the Avengers, trying to get the Tesseract, and eventually stopped Hela with Thor, caused Ragnarok, and saved everyone in Asgard. The more of the hero portion of his character comes from his actually Loki the TV series, and also Loki the God of Stories comic book series. In this story, the time stream continuum of like the multiverses and all the different timelines are decaying. There's problems happening, and Loki takes it upon himself to use his newfound powers while he was time slipping in the TVA to become the God of Stories, and literally is holding all of the timelines together and is forced to sit for all eternity to allow everyone to live. If it wasn't for this like selfless sacrifice that he made, literally all of the Marvel universe would fall apart. And it's a really cool development as his character, from being an insanely selfish character, only thinking about himself, only really wanting power, into turning into the selfless character who sacrificed himself for literally all of like the entire universe. It's really cool. Now, the Marvel Rivals interpretation of this character is gonna be a little bit different. It unfortunately is the more selfish character. However, they did do a slight twist with it. This character actually was able to Loki was able to rule Asgard. He's working with Hela. He cast Thor out into a distant timeline and is now ruling over Asgard. Even though he is the only person in Asgard, he still accomplished his goal of ruling. There's actually voice lines on the specific Asgard map and him talking to other people, so it actually is a little bit interesting. However, I do kind of wish it evolved into the more of the Loki TV show, as Loki is one of my favorite characters in the Marvel universe because of how much character development he has compared to some other characters. Loki's primary fire is Mystic Missile, a 10 ammo projectile healing and damage main fire that has a special clause that the splash damage is what actually is the hitbox when it comes to healing and doing damage, meaning hitting on center and hitting a little bit away from the target player or target enemy is actually going to do that main healing, meaning that it's actually more beneficial to aim at the floor, as you're going to be hitting more people with the splash damage than you would be when you're trying to lock on to only one target. His first ability is Regeneration Domain. Loki will put down a rune stone that will last for 5 seconds and convert all incoming damage into healing. This practically makes you and everyone in there immortal. However, the rune stone itself does have health as long with the duration, so it can be kind of countered if people do shoot at it. However, after playing Loki for around 6 hours now, he is by far my most played hero right now, I've noticed a lot of people don't instantly target the stone, as because you and your teammates are going to obviously be shooting at them. However, do notice that it's not a full counter when it comes to people if they do break it. Loki's passive is Backstab. This simply adds an extra 15 damage to his melee if you are aiming at the back. This usually isn't come up that much in gameplay. There is scenarios where you can actually deal a lot of damage very quickly if you use his other abilities with the Backstab. However, I only really recommend doing this like when someone who's not paying attention. I've never really seen this come up in my games all that much. His next ability is Deception. Loki will place a clone and go invisible While invisible, Loki will regenerate 20 health per second. The invisibility actually doesn't have any time limit. However, taking any damage or doing any abilities will instantly bring him out of his instead visibility. This is very good to instantly break line of sight or to go into the back line and try and sneak around a little bit. Loki's next ability is Doppelganger. Loki can place an illusion that will copy all of his abilities besides his invisibility and obviously placing another clone. This is where his potential for bursting and burst healing is going to come from. The illusion when he's invisible also will copy his abilities as well. This is insanely strong. These clones stay practically for over a minute. I think I haven't actually tested it in a match because they do get destroyed. They have the same health as you and copy all abilities. So that includes your immortality, rejuvenation stone, your primary fire, your backstab. This is going to be how you're primarily going to be able to burst people down and heal people very quickly, as you can 3-shot a 250 HP target by just having all 3 clones out. His next ability is Devious Exchange. He'll be able to swap with a selected illusion. This is allowing you to obviously escape from any situation that you get dived on by yourself. However, in early game, I actually tend to use this to get onto high ground. Placing a clone up on high ground and then swapping to them to get a better angle point is always going to be good at the start of a round or even mid-game if you want to try and get high ground to avoid incoming fire. Loki's ult is God of Mischief. Loki will be able to target anyone on his team and anyone on the enemy's team and transform into them, gaining their powers for 15 seconds. This will also insta allow you to be able to use an ultimate ability. This is insanely strong, as you can kind of just either team up with one of your own support, one of your own DPS, even a tank. Obviously, you get the ultimate instantaneous, so it's going to have a lot of value, and you're usually going to be copying to get the ult. Now that we're done explaining his abilities, let me give you some tips and tricks on how to play him more effectively. One of the biggest ones is understanding how your clones are going to work against some other characters, because some characters kind of counter you when it comes to your clones, and you kind of counter them. Psylocke would be the biggest counter that you can do against her, as her ultimate actually considers your clones a player entity, meaning you can place all of your clones and her ultimate is going to target the clones and you, meaning her ultimate isn't going to get as much value. 2 characters you want to stay away from fighting against or try and play more safe would be Moon Knight and Bucky. Moon Knight, as your clones are stationary, he's going to be able to land his darts on your clones more effectively, obviously, but then they're going to ricochet around to you and your team if they're all grouped together. So I'd recommend trying to spread your clones apart if you're playing against a Moon Knight. And a Bucky can get his ultimate refresh on your clones, meaning that if a Bucky is getting ready to ult, or you know a Bucky has ult as you die from him and you can see that he has ult, I would recommend not placing your clones until that ult is done. The next tip is going to be understanding which character to ult with. The best thing you can do as a Loki is looking at the entire player base in the match, looking at your team as you can copy your team, and of course the enemy to copy your enemy. The highest priority ultimates you're going to want to copy is always going to be supports. One of the best ones to copy is going to be a Luna ult, Invisible Woman ult, Mantis ult, Cloak and Dagger ult. All of those ults are going to be most effective. However, if you know you want to get some more damage, Bucky, Storm, Star-Lord, Iron Man are going to be good ults. However, I would also make sure to understand what ults are going to be considered bad. Most skill-based ultimates are not going to give you that high of a value, or ultimates that happen very, very quickly. This would mean like Magic's ultimate, Iron Fist ultimate, where they require more skill-based to completely swap your playstyle mid-match. You want to mainly play for the ultimate, not the necessarily character. There is one use case for a character where you want to do more of the actual character, and that is Hulk. Hulk is a very interesting character when it comes to him being used with Loki, as his Monster Hulk form is apparently considered a different player entity, same with how Psylocke registers the clones, meaning that you transforming into Monster Hulk while Hulk resets your counter on how long you can actually copy a hero with Loki, meaning that you can get double the value from just copying one person. Now this does mean you'll have to understand how to play Hulk, but even if you don't really know how to play him too much, which I don't really know how to play him too much, you can still get a lot of value simply because you can stall a point with how much health you get as Base Hulk and Monster Hulk. That doesn't even mention the Gamma Shields that you'll be able to give to your team as well. The next tip is going to be using your clones most effectively and placing them most effectively. Outside of your Immortality Field and Regeneration Domain Runestone, you're not going to be really using any other abilities other than your clones, as your primary fire is what is going to get the bulk of your healing, along with all of your clones healing. So you need to be able to place your clones most effectively. The most effective is to place them all near you. That way, all clones are going to be hitting the same target that you are aiming at. And another bit of advice is, if you do die, shoot while you're on the way to spawn. As if any clones are still alive, that's just going to be able to get free value. I've actually gotten accidental eliminations because I'm shooting as I'm walking from my way to spawn when I'm already dead, and I've been able to kill someone who is able to kill me like just a second before. The next tip is going to be what playstyle you should play Loki with. He's a very weird strategist, as he can kind of be played in multiple different ways instead of just being pure healing, as all of his clones have insane burst healing and burst damage potential. If all three clones are placed and aiming at the same thing, you can burst down a 250 HP enemy within 3 shots, and usually people aren't going to be full health, meaning that you might be able to 2-shot people. He is insanely strong for bursting down people. Obviously, I'm not saying always flank and always try to attack, but you can be more of a offensive and defensive role. You can kind of play around him. I would recommend, if you're going to try and use a flank role, I would recommend using his Hela team up, which allows him to get bonus health or get resurrected if Hela gets an elim. This is the most broken team up in my opinion. It also does apply with Thor. Hela is a little bit weaker this season than she was in season 0, but she still can still 2-shot and 3-shot people. She's still very strong. So her team, if having a friend or even having a random play as Hela, you're going to do insane work with Loki. My last tip is going to be cooldown management. Obviously, in a game like Marvel Rivals, cooldown management is going to be a basic function that every hero is going to have to do. However, with Loki, it's actually slightly different because all of his cooldowns are very, very long. I would recommend saving your rejuvenation domain or immortality field for very, very big ultimates, especially if they're very choreographed. Ultimates like Iron Man's can completely be denied. Star-Lord's can be kind of denied. The only ultimates I would kind of avoid using his regeneration domain on are ones that would be very easy to be destroyed. I don't know if it was a bug, but I have seen myself get bursted down by a Scarlet Witch ult when I was in my domain. I don't know if it was because it destroyed the domain as I died by the ultimate, or if it was because the domain ended when the ultimate went down. I'm not 100% sure, but try and save that for big ultimates, or try and use it to make sure that your team stays alive, as its healing output is insanely strong. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. Loki is my favorite hero to do this on so far. Comment down below what hero you want to see next. I actually don't know what hero I do want to do next. I might do a damage character, but I might change it up. Loki is my favorite character right now, which is why I wanted to do Loki. But I'm going to be trying to swap it up with possibly a character that you guys pick. So comment down below who you want to see next. Stay noble. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.